typically doing what's called a needs assessment, where we look at, the request was, they wanted to widen this area to a 5-lane and fix some of the issues at the in and around the interchange. So we did an efficiency analysis, and we are seeing some issues at the ramps and throughout this area. There's a lot of traffic that's been developing. So one of the biggest issues that we want to address is phase 1 that we feel like is a reasonable thing to do. We're still trying to figure out what kind of funding source we would use for that, because we have a couple of different options. But is to put a signal on, I believe it's the westbound entrance and exit ramp. So that would help if there's any queues on the interstate. We would be able to coordinate between the eastbound ramp and the westbound ramp and clear any of that, because with all the high speeds on the interstate, we don't want someone getting creamed on the ramp. So we have an estimated cost of about $400,000 for that. So if we can get some kind of photographic evidence as to if there's a queue that backs up to what we call the gore, which is that kind of painted triangular area on the interstate that shows that there's a queue, that we can actually fund that with safety dollars. So if we could get some help in that arena, that would be great. Another thing we would need for phase 1 to happen is TDOT doesn't own any of the traffic signals. They're owned by the local government. So with this being in Gordonsville, TDOT can install the signal, and local government would be responsible for owning and maintaining it. So we would need a letter of support from Gordonsville and a request from Gordonsville asking for the light. It does warrant a traffic signal. We have ran that as part of the needs assessment. So that'll be something that would be greatly helpful if we want to get a light put in here. It's just we need some local support on that area. So after phase 1, these are the areas where we're, with the Improve Act going on, there's a lot of money that's being tied up with that, because that's all in law that we have to do those projects, and we have a timeline commitment that that's really something we've been struggling with, because the cost has just been getting bigger and bigger with all these projects due to inflation and whatnot. But so that's why there isn't any money specific, because this project is not in the Improve Act. But our vision for it is so that we can kind of get the things fixed that need to be fixed first, and get it through the program as quick as possible once TDOT does adopt it, is to break this up into 3 separate projects. It would be a big project, but a lot of times we separate, like say if you're widening from one city to another, we separate it up into multiple different sections, and we fund the sections that are worst first and get those done with, so that we can, because Tennessee the pay-as-you-go state, we can't fund like these big multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar projects. Well, we do billion, but not $100 million projects are typically not in the program unless it's like a massive like project like in Chattanooga or Nashville. So what we have here is just a way to, we think, reasonably get these funded once they are in the program. So we would start with what we call phase 2, which would be to so right now, one of the issues with widening in this area is the bridge, the columns being in the way. So what we'd have to do is we'd have to replace that bridge, and we'd have to, so since those columns are in the way, we have to make the bridge longer with one span. And when you do that, you have to have a stronger bridge, because it's like the longer the bridge gets, the stronger it has to be. So the deeper our beams have to get. When those beams get deeper, we have to raise the grade of the interstate up, and so that's something that's going to cost quite a bit. You have to do all that work on the interstate, possibly work with the ramps a little bit, but yeah, that would be part of the project. And then we put a left turn lane in one in each direction. Right now, you have one left turn lane that both directions are having to fight for underneath that bridge. So we would put one for each direction. And we would widen State Route 53 within the limits of just the interchange and the kind of commercial area down to the intersection of Gordonsville at State Route 141. So that would be phase 2. And phase 2 would be, so what you're saying, if you've got the notes in front of you, I've put some on the table. Phase 2 is $18.5 million, but that's also includes a signal, so it's actually $18.1 million. So that's phase 2. Phase 3 would be I guess phase 3 and phase 4 can kind of be interchangeable. priority to get the 5-lane down to JMZ Drive, or would you rather modify the interchange and fix the area within that kind of commercial, where all the gas stations and restaurants are at? So phase 3 would be just to extend that 5-lane down to JMZ Drive. We have to go a little bit farther past JMZ Drive because just our design standards require us to go, it's like 1,500 feet past an intersection. It's called lane extensions. But yeah, that's why you're seeing it go a little bit farther past. And then we move into phase 4, and phase 4 would be kind of the ultimate fix for the interchange. We haven't analyzed this yet because we're still kind of at the early phase, but we think, you know, just using our best judgment, we feel like this would operate better than what we currently have. But we would basically remove the westbound ramps and completely do like a loop ramp that comes around, and that loop would, as you start to kind of go around it, would be able to accommodate like a high 70-mile-an-hour speed, but then it would transition as you come around that loop to a 35-mile-an-hour, which is a little bit higher than a lot of the loops that you'll see exiting the interstate. But and then we give plenty of room to like an extra lane that we actually went a little bit over standard to help decelerate before you actually hit that 35-mile-an-hour loop. So what that would also do is realigning that would put those two ramps farther apart from each other, and it would, you know, when we were coming in this morning, we noticed that we were behind a truck. If you're sitting in that left turn lane, those trucks are having to swing really wide, and they run the risk of clipping those people that are in that car. So you would really get rid of a lot of that issue because there's not a lot of storage underneath there. I imagine people are trying to squeeze in quite a bit into those lanes. So getting those ramps farther apart would really be beneficial, and also it would help with this area where we have the pilot gas station and those restaurants, where what we would do is by introducing this little access road that you'll see on the drawing, we would remove the ability to turn out of those businesses, but you could turn into them. And what we do is we funnel the traffic that wants to leave through that little access road that ties in and lines up with our new realigned ramps. So in order to modify an interchange like this, what we would have to do is do what's called an interstate access request, where we have Federal Highways has to approve any kind of modifications to the interchange. Now we deal with them a lot on these, and we feel like this is something that's pretty reasonable, but we haven't communicated with them yet. We feel like this would meet the policies that are outlined, you know, by doing an interstate access request. So that's kind of the gist of our plans. I think I've covered just about everything, but if there's any questions, we've got, you know, we're willing to talk. We have analyzed though the signal, and I guess one of the things that we're struggling with is that with the turning movement counts that we got for phase 1, we're not seeing the queue. Not saying that there isn't one, it's just the modeling software that we use and the data that we have just didn't show it. But it could be that the situation that we ran into this morning is those trucks are having to turn so slow. Our software couldn't pick that up. It's a very unique situation. The trucks are probably turning at a normal speed through our modeling software. So that's why having the photographic evidence would really help us out, because we're not seeing it in our analysis. So that's kind of why we have that rule to be flexible.
Where do you want us to send those pictures?
You can send them to any of us, and we can give you our information. But yeah, just send them to us, and we run that program. So yeah.
That's important. If you've got pictures of issues of it, send them. Pictures are worth 1,000 words.
So if you can get a picture of that view, like you said, going to the Gore area, it would qualify that signal installation for safety funds, which is good. You know, it's a good pot of money to fund something like that.
And I don't want to be that guy, but wouldn't phase 4 wouldn't it be better if it was phase 1, because then you could do everything that would alleviate a lot of problems, and then you could do the rest of the stuff, because just my thoughts.
Well, yeah, phase 4 is the cost.
Right.
Phase 1 being the signal, there are kind of discretionary pots of money and safety money. So I guess there's a couple different pots that we could use, and with it being such a small dollar amount, that's why we feel like we could get that out a lot quicker. And the time that it would take us to develop phase 4, would just, it would just, y'all be waiting for a long, long time before you'd ever see it. We don't even have a timeline right now. I know it takes us about, on average, 12 years to develop a project, of this magnitude.
Right.
That's when you have the money. So that's why we're trying to figure out ways to get these elements done that can get done in a more timely manner. And the light also would help solve a lot of those issues, the major issues.
Yes.
There are some issues that wouldn't be solved, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I would say phase 1, then phase 4. For the simple fact, if you look at that, where that access road is gonna go in and that interchange, if we're talking, I'm just throwing a number out, 10, 15 years from that being real.
Yes, sir.
What if that gets developed and then you can't buy the right of way?
That's very true.
So right now, there's nothing
There's
on it.
nothing.
To me, it makes more sense to buy that now, get that done, and then worry about the E3 and your 5 lanes and widen that bridge.
That's actually-
Because that takes care of your problem.
I understand, okay, yeah, that's actually something we did look at,
You need-
not
yeah.
even focus on the widening, but just the modification of the interchange first. So that's good, that's actually good input, because that's why we wanna see, if our vision aligns with what you guys are thinking. So that is an idea that we had on the table. So we can go and talk to our director about what.
And I'll be glad to go sell that story to him as well, if you want me there. It's that important. I think if you do that, phase 1 or phase 2, then the rest of that stuff will come, because it will generate your need. I think you'll see a major change in that traffic flow and that backup right there if you do phase 1 or phase 4 at phase 2. I agree that light needs to be done, but I think if we could flip that order would be.
So we're talking about the modification of the interchange, that new access road, and modifying those accesses.
Yes.
Along there.
Yes. Because like I said, my fear is if it sits here for 10, 15 years, well, it could either, if it gets developed, then you're gonna then you've lost it. But if we're sitting there waiting on 10, 15 years, those property owners are not, and they get wind of it, they're not gonna do anything to that property. So we're killing our chance to grow or commercially off that right there, waiting on something that may or may not be coming. Or if it becomes real, then those people can make different arrangements of how they want to do their building and their growth off those lots.
The biggest thing with the signal is, that's a low cost improvement that we could get out there, and then
Yeah.
also, once we install it, we can continue to monitor the situation, which might further, justify
Yeah.
a larger.
I mean, I've had people say, just put me a mirror up where I can see what's coming under that bridge.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had to wait on the bridge to make that modification and make that ramp happen as well, since they've already went ahead and made it one content. When they rehabbed the bridge or replaced them, that would be unreasonable. I like that idea too.
Like I said, I don't want to be that guy that says, well, I don't really like my present, but if we could, maybe look at that in a different direction would be great.
So,
Of the phase 1, 400 grand, how much would Gordonsville have to pony up for those lights?
I believe that the light would be 100% funded,
By?
TDOT.
Okay.
But then the maintenance and upkeep would be.
Oh, so it wouldn't be any initial out-of-pocket cost for the city board necessarily?
So, just be you'd have to sign a maintenance agreement and we did letter of support.
That's what's in the, that's what's on the board there now.
Okay.
You probably make that deal when you do.
Well, somebody else might have to by the time they get to it. But I would, yes. Yeah, well, realistic, 20 years.
Well, what's good about this is, as David was saying, we're bringing a vision, and now it's time for the people to give your feedback on what you think would work best. So that's why we're doing this.
I think this is awesome. This is one of the best designs we've seen. I know that since that we've discussed and talked, and I'm excited for what this can do to that area, like I said, so.
I think you're right, moving the phases around would definitely be beneficial for the interchange. Any other questions? Mike?
I think you covered it, Dave's point, you know, the money is always
The
the
elephant
challenge.
in the room.
Yeah, so, that's the biggest struggle with it.
Yeah.
We're gonna start making on those charges.
Yeah.
We have no problem voicing
That's
that,
right.
that's for sure.
Could you give us an email address to send the pictures to?
Yeah, my email is David .Duncan, DUNCAN @tm.gov.
Did you get that on, those emails?
I don't have anything to write
Oh.
down.
Do you have a card, David, you can leave?
I left him at the office, I apologize.
Give it one more time, that email.
It's David.
Living here, new employees, they're paying taxes. But as we all know, our funding currently comes from the fuel tax. So in the legislature approved in 17, the Improve Act. And that was wonderful. It was a good shot in the arm, but we didn't get the amount of money that we asked for, and it was not indexed to keep up with inflation. So yes, it was a good shot of the arm, but it's still short of what we're needing for projects like this. And as you all know, we all want to maintain our own house, keep our own personal houses in good order, but we don't want to be building a swimming pool in the backyard when we need a new roof.
Absolutely.
That's just, we are zero debt. That was handed to us by our forefathers, and we want to continue to hand that down to the generations behind us to be zero debt. So, just again, I'm very close with Representative Weaver on this issue and many other issues, and I think she wants to talk about some other projects and whatnot, but yeah, our eye is on this project. We just recently paved 53 from here up to the Highway 70 interchange, and we just recently signed an agreement with South Carthage where they're going to take over old 53 alignment that comes in front of Cumberland Supply and whatnot. So we're going to do some patch paving and crack sealing and some drainage work where it's scouring out on the side of the road, but we're handing that over to them for them to maintain there as well. Again, this strategic investment division, that's where these young engineers are from. They're from the headquarters of the Polk Building. I'm the regional director of operations, so I'm out at the kind of boots on the ground over construction and maintenance. So we're excited about this project, but it's a heavy lift. I mean, as you would imagine, the constructability of building this bridge that's got to have that long span to span over maybe 6 lanes,
Yes,
to each direction, and then each has got its own lane for a middle turn lane. So building that big single span bridge and maintaining the existing I-40 traffic, whoa. So, and David said it best, we want to keep that vertical clearance underneath there so that, equipment hauling, low boy is, wide loads and high loads and whatnot. We don't want to bang up the new beams, so we got to maintain that vertical clearance. I'm over 5 bridge inspection teams throughout the 26 counties of Middle Tennessee, and we look at that bridge every 2 years for any structural deficiency and whatnot. But we got to maintain the vertical clearance underneath, so that's why David's saying to get that long of a span, then you've got a bigger, stronger beam thickness and height, and then that in turn raises the grade of I-40. So, the elevation that riding surface is now on that bridge, it may come up another 3 to 5 feet. So again, the constructability of managing the interstate traffic, building the bridge, blah, blah, blah. Don't wanna be a Debbie Downer and paint it, you know, but again, there's that design, there is the funding, but again, anything that you can do to help draw in new businesses and whatnot, that's what we like to see. Because everybody's growing.
Yeah.
Everybody's, you know, I think I heard the statistic, close to 100 people a day are moving into the metro Nashville area and surrounding counties, so it's booming. Yes, ma'am.
Just a technical question, because I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but if you were to be building this new bridge, you would keep the old bridge while you were constructing that, or how would that work?
Have to. We can't detour traffic over there on 53 or 150 or 70.
Well, just clear on that, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We'd have to cut the deck, I imagine. We'd have to cut the deck, put the lanes over in the center, to start out with. We got one big wide bridge. We got enough to accommodate another lane already on it. So we had to narrow the lanes up, keep 2 lanes going in each direction. Cut those decks and then span those beams over.
So would the new bridge be incorporated with the old one, is that what you're saying, or would it be a totally different bridge?
It'd be a totally different bridge by the time everything's said and done.
Yeah.
But you'd have to keep a portion of the old bridge in place, maintain the traffic going on the interstate, and then build half of the new bridge next to the old bridge on each side of it. And then what you do is, after you finish that part up on each side, you cut the center out, and you put the traffic over on the new sides.
Probably similar to when they were rehabbing it, because I think it was 2 separate bridges that they built in the center. But the challenge is it's gonna be, the new bridge will be so much higher, and you're building it right beside those, the existing bridge, that would be.
But if you do phase 4 first, you may not even have to do the bridge, because that may alleviate a lot of the trouble.
You're right.
I mean, we don't know, I mean, I think you're gonna solve a lot of problems with that, and you may not have to go to 3 to 5 lanes and change that bridge immediately. Just a thought.
That bridge is not that old, it's been redone, what year, 10 years ago, 12?
It was pretty recent. I mean, recent.
It was redone recently. I can't remember the age of the bridge. I could get back with you on that, but I know that sufficiency rating was in the 90s out of 100. And I think they typically get replaced at is like
50.
50.
Yeah, 50, close to 50.
So it's considered a healthy bridge.
That's very healthy. When I say recent, I mean like, you know, not 20 years ago, but yeah, probably more around the 10-year mark. I don't know the exact date though. I just remember they were working on it when I was in college, driving up in Cookville.
Looking at how things usually run at state level with funding and everything, what's forecast for completion? Any idea?
So, depending on how we phase it, I mean, a project can take 12 years on average, I think, to complete once you have the money. But that's the big elephant in the room is when's the money gonna be available?
Then so many years to construct, right?
Yeah, so many years to develop and construct and take it through just the project development process, because there's multiple different, you know, we've actually kind of got a head start on this one as far as the planning stage goes. It's nice to have a plan in place once you have the money, because sometimes, you know, with the Improve Act, there was a lot of projects that didn't even have a plan.
No plan, no money.
It's like, we wanna do something here, we don't know what it is, but we wanna do something. Here's about how much money we wanna spend here, but we've been having to come up with a plan on the front end, so that kind of, we've got a head start though. I will say that helps with the time, but this is about as far as we can take it without PE dollars. We can't get out here and do a survey and start working on preliminary design plans or anything like that, because we just don't have money to do it.
And remember, there's a lot of, other than TDOT, there are other persons that are part of this decision, and we have to, lack of a better term, jump through their hoops. We've obviously got to work with the Federal Highway Administration because it's an interstate bridge. We've got to work with NEPA National Environmental Policy Act. We will have to secure all the environmental permits that would be, you know, under this project. Obviously, buying the right of way, we offer a fair market value, but, you know, person owning that property, they have every right in the world to not accept that and take it, you know, to court and let a jury decide, you know, if they're getting a fair deal or more money and whatnot. So, I mean, there's just a lot of variables to that equation, if you will.
So chances are at my age, I'll never see it.
Maybe at Dave's age. That could happen. And plus too, Mayor, yesterday, we had a group of folks come out to the new industrial park area, which is a quarter of a mile north of the interstate, where the county is developing places for businesses, especially, keep in mind, distribution centers. No distribution, I misspoke them, but business.
No.
But business where trucks would be coming in and off in through there.
High level manufacturing.
Okay, well, don't they move stuff in trucks?
They do, but I'm just saying, no, distribution doesn't really benefit our economy.
Oh, okay, well, I just
With
think
jobs.
there's trucks moving in and out, there's stuff going on, and they need, you know, you need traffic coming in and out of the interstate. But anyway, that's very close to the interstate. So, we have a new school that's being considered. So there are some things
Where will
in,
that be?
We don't know. They've bought property on the far end of Gornsville. They could do there. There was some land just past the 141 interchange or four-way stop out there that they talked about that was going to be donated for a school that hasn't. So we don't know. Mayor Gibbs, do you know? I mean, we don't know anything yet.
Have no connection with the school board. The land they brought is on 264 there. It is, that's where I begged for an exit. So the 264 and all of that land, and it wraps around, and there's probably 500-600 acres there. And I showed the TDA people that would wrap around, come back into the zinc company and where the industrial park is now. But everybody, I mean, I've been mayor going on 9 years, and every year I've been there, the first thing I told them, we need another exit on 264. But just snub and go on. But I still think that instead of, you could help this some, but if you built another exit, it's probably, what, 3 miles apart on the interstate?
3 to 5.
258 to probably 261 or 262 at the most. But that's just my opinion.
Any other questions?
I have one, it's not a question, it's just a simple statement. I travel a lot of highways, and I want to say that I believe Tennessee has some of the smoothest and the most intact highways that I have traveled in a lot of places and over my years. And I want to say to you guys, thanks for what you're doing and keeping everything smooth enough that you don't have a broken rim or potholes that sink your front end in the journey. And it's been good.
We've all driven around in lots of states. I'm telling you, Tennessee is outstanding.
Yes, sir. That's just my
We
observation.
TDOT consistently ranks 4th and 5th in the nation, you know, in our infrastructure, quality and the maintenance of that. And again, zero debt.
Yeah.
These other, you know, states that are first, second, whatnot, they're paying millions just on the interest of the bonds that they
If you go through Illinois, you better plan on replacing a tire or a rim. I'm telling you guys.
Even the stuff that's done by third-party contractors, like trash collection and like the mowing,
Yes.
those are functions that are done by TDOT on the interstate. But I'm sure that they're coordinated by TDOT.
Yes.
You don't see trash blowing around on the interstate on I-40. That's TDOT's great work. Stay on top of that. You don't see the weeds in the middle of the grass medians getting above knee high, and then all of a sudden there's a whole team of bush hoggers out there mowing. at least between here and Nashville,
Right.
here in Knoxville, right, you know, whatever. Y'all do an awesome job taking care of
I'll
it.
quickly share, so we found that we can do it cheaper and have more pride in that mowing. So I-40 through Wilson and Smith County, we're doing that with our own forces,
Oh,
our own
awesome.
tractors.
Okay.
Now, we may contract some of the litter pickup, but we're doing that swath mowing and then full cycles to
It's
clean.
hard to know that, because we're going 70 miles an hour and dodging tractor trailers.
Yeah.
Can't see the TDOT emblems on
Yeah,
the
you're gonna
tractor.
stop and read it.
That's right. Well, lately you ain't been going 70 miles an hour on your 40 ways.
Thank you for those comments, Shirley.
Yes, yes, thank you, yes, and I echo, thank you guys for what you do.
Thank you so much.
I will remind you all that TDOT continues to maintain on TDOT's dime, the old Trust Bridge downtown.
Yes, that's a good point. Thanks
I,
for bringing that up.
you know, I've grown up going across that bridge, and I know many of you all, would never want to see it fall into disrepair and it be so structurally deficient that it has to come down, because then it's like, where's the money to rebuild that? So again, just be mindful that that's some continued maintenance money coming into this community to maintain that. We've had at least 2 repair projects, the cost of which, you know, we probably could have built a new bridge way back when we built this a new one over here. So, but anyway, it is what it is. It's a very nice historical
As
bridge.
Mayor Carthy, we want to thank you very much for doing that, and these wonderful engineers, earlier, we kind of planted a seed with them about that bridge, and I'm sure they'll share with you, but thank you again for taking care of it. It's historic and unique.
Any further questions? If not, you're welcome to linger around and go ask Michelle.